Hello folks, welcome back to the channel. Thank you very much for joining me. You are always most welcome. Well, you're probably thinking this is odd. Didn't you finish this series with episode 4 when you said you're going to finish it on episode 3? And now we have episode 5. You can't let go, can you? No, it's not that actually. It's just that during some of the chat, especially, and the comments, several people have made past comments. Oh, you didn't do the Helldiver, for example. Didn't do the Helldiver, or didn't do the Lightning, or didn't do the Vegan, and so on and so forth. And we've had quite a few of these where, actually, like the Nat trainer, which was the red arrows, where the actual example I showed you was the one of the Mark 1B, as in the normal sort of box, but I couldn't open it, it was taped, so I never got to show you that properly. So we have here the Mark 1A, one of the very, again, other comments you've made, germane to this, have been about the box type, saying, I've never seen those boxes. Well, these really only ran for about 3 or 6 months max, and by the summer of '73 they were gone. They moved on to the box you're more familiar with, which has got the window in it and the end opening. So when you see these lift top boxes, they are very rare. If you get your hands on one of those, you've got something from the very original production runs of the Matchbox kits. So here we are, celebrating 50 years of Matchbox for the final, retained for another week, like Star Wars when it first came out. It used to come back and say retained for another week and another week because of demand. So we've retained 50 years of Matchbox, the magic of Matchbox. Here we are again. So welcome back. I have to say I do smile as well. It's a mutual thing really, this, because people keep telling me their stories and they're so similar to my own, the ones I've talked about, so I won't repeat them. But you know, people saying about one guy was telling me that he entered. I forgot what the kit was. It was one of the 172nd airplane kits, and he entered it in the I think it was maybe the Messerschmitt. Entered it in the school modelling competition, and some lad turned up with a 132 Dauntless Matchbox, which trumped him completely. Oh, I hate it when that happens. I've had experiences very similar to that. But obviously, he was bringing back a lot of memories of building these kits for all of you. And please don't stop sharing those with us because they are really interesting. And to hear the little variations about the packaging and various other sort of iterations that were, you know, supplied worldwide. Anyway, without further ado, I will just mention one thing at the beginning. I'll mention it again very briefly at the end. For those of you who haven't seen my other video from Christmas time, well, New Year, I think it was about 2 days before New Year, 29th of December or thereabouts. The Magic of Matchbox. It's the golden years of Matchbox art, and it's this wonderful book. Now I'm not going to show you now because it just wastes time, but please go and look at my video on that, because if you're enjoying these videos, you really enjoy this. And the explanations that I talked about in some of the videos from Roy Huxley, the artist, where he describes what the evolution of some of the artwork was and why some of it had to be changed, and things he was very delighted about, things that he wasn't so happy about. It's really interesting. It's really interesting. So go and have a look at that video, please. I won't bore you with it here and now, but I just thought I'd keep that as a prompter and give myself a little plug there. Right, so where do we begin then? I thought we'd start actually with one or two of the kits that I've already shown you, but I didn't actually get out. And I've actually re-watched when I watched the live chat, and I've even thought myself, you didn't actually open that one. So there's a couple here I brought back, held over for a second week, and they are the Jaguar and the Buccaneer. And obviously the Nat trainer, as I mentioned. So I think we'll start with the Nat. Let's zoom you in, you can have a proper look at this now. I know it's always difficult with this background, but I'm going to try and not zoom in too much, because I think on the armour video I may have gone a little bit too close. That's pretty close enough. So what we've got here, this is the Genesis Mark 1 box. So we've got the top opening box again, the Nat. If you remember, I said about the Yellow Jacks, the aerobatic display team in the RAF in the 60s. Very early 60s, and I think that's why they went for this yellow and red scheme here, which is kind of curious. Anyway, let's see what it actually looks like inside. Somebody's rather annoyingly written, it's not me, written on this, probably a catalogue number or something, which is probably why I didn't show it the first time. It's not quite as perfect, but it is more original, having this original opening box. So, what have we got? Look at this. Wow, sunglasses on time, folks. It's very bright. It's just super bright, sort of pillar box stroke rouge red. Look at that. I mean, that's red, isn't it? That is red. Yes. Now then. It's a nice looking little model though, this. It's a lovely little jet. I always like the Gnat. I like the Hawk the Red Arrows have today, but I don't think it's quite as pretty an aeroplane as the Gnat was, which has got this much more sort of simplified, more graceful air about it. It's got a top wing, of course, so the wing loading is different. Here you've got a couple of the wing tanks as well, which is synonymous with the Red Arrows and the trainer, in fairness. A couple of ejection seats in red. Handy if you eject, they won't miss you, will they? If you eject in those, you'll be picked up by a chopper in no time. Then we have our lovely original, and very much the Genesis Generation 1 instructions in the purple. So first flew 1955. I mean, that's really early, isn't it? A bit like the Lightning, you know. It's not accepted as a strike machine. Well, because it couldn't carry much payload, that's why. But of course it became the ideal trainer, and therefore in 1960 they decided to make it into the Red Arrows. So there you go. Look, it's got the original hot hints, and then we've got our instructions with our pilot and navigator, co-pilot, and going into your cockpit there. You've got your intakes and your big covers for the undercarriage going on the side, and big doors, big double canopy. Little light, it has like a headlight at the front. It's not a radar, it's a headlight. And then your pitot probe on the front, tails going on here, wings going together, very simple. And then finally you pop your wheels together, pop them in, and stick your tanks on. And that's it, very straightforward little kit. Here's the other sprue, and now we've got, now I said it's yellow, it's almost an orange yellow, it's like tangerine, isn't it? But it's quite an attractive colour really, especially when you're about 7 or 8 years old. I remember thinking this was really wild. It's almost like a psychedelic dream, you know. You can tell it's the 1960s/70s when this was being devised. So there we go, there's our two pilots, or pilot and co-pilot I should say. And we've got our gear, there's our little spindly pitot head with the front nose window with the headlight. And there you go, it's go with Knox, isn't it? Any of you that, some of you will remember that, some of you won't, but there's the canopy. Sorry, I didn't really show that properly. Back in. There we go, nice little canopy. Not on a bit of sprue, it's just on its own, this one. Yeah, I mentioned go with Knox. Of course, many of you of a certain age, like me, you'll remember that John Knox, who was one of the presenters of Blue Peter, of course, very famous, very popular presenter, with his dog Shep, Get Down Shep, did a record about it, didn't he? He flew with the Red Arrows. Now, before he became a TV presenter and worked in television, he actually, I think he was a fitter or an engineer for the Royal Air Force. So in the 50s, late 50s, I think he was in the RAF anyway, so he was a natural choice to go and do a programme about the operations of the Red Arrows. So he did this programme, Go With Knox, and I would, honestly, I'd urge you to go and look at this documentary. Bear in mind, it was, I think, 1975 when it was produced. And he has like a week with the Red Arrows, and he goes training in low-level aerobatics and all sorts of stuff, and he has to have a sick bag in the back seat, you know, and they put him through the simulator and everything. He doesn't do the final display, but he does a full day's training with them, you know. You can see that it was probably wasn't fit enough. He was fit, but I don't think you're ever fit enough unless you're a super athlete. But it's a very interesting programme. So Go With Knox, Red Arrows. Go and have a look at that on the internet. You'll enjoy it. Anyway, moving on. So that's the Red Arrows sorted. Then the next one, I think we'll just work our way through these ones that we have sort of missed. Well, we didn't miss the Jag, but we didn't look at it properly, did we? The Jaggy, which everybody seems to like. This one is open, so we can open this up, which we didn't do before. Let's have a look inside. Again, I just showed this artwork, which I still think is very curious. And every copy of this has slightly different colour cast on the printing, so something wasn't right with the printing. I've got 3 or 4, no 2 are the same. Can you see it? Very curious sort of colouring. This one actually is probably closest to reality. In fact, there's a second problem, because there's definitely a print issue. Look at the one below, look at the roundel at the front. That, well, I'm sorry, but that looks to me like the New Zealand Air Force. Can you see it? It looks like a kiwi. almost. Clearly some sort of misprinting going on with the printing press here. That's not normal roundel. That one is. Even for a, you know, the high vis, that's definitely not right. Let's refer back to the one there the other day. So there was definitely something going on with the printing on some of these boxes, and there is some variation. There's other variations as well. A gentleman just a day or so ago sent me a message saying about the Dooley Bird P51D Mustang. I had that. Thank you, Peter. It's very interesting. I built that one. He said, but I remember that he said that the bodywork was red, which was really off-putting. It was pale blue wings with a red fuselage. And as soon as he said it, I thought, hang on a second. Yeah, so I went and checked, and my other one, because I've got a couple of copies of many of these, sure enough, the other one is different colours. It's the colours he suggested, red with pale blue wings. Very strange, you know. It's almost like they were doing a production run, started on, say, 3 o'clock on Friday afternoon, and then they'd finish at 5, and then they sort of forgot, started up again on Monday, forgetting they'd changed the polystyrene pellet colour. Then they had this mushy pea green, wasn't it? I think it was, that we saw on the Hellcat. Very odd, you know. There's no consistency. Same is true with the Buccaneer as well. I've got 3 Buccaneers, and I've got one that's different colour plastic to the other 2 completely. One's grey and blue and white, and the other one's 2 tones of blue and white. Anyway, let's have a look at this Jag. Let's have a look at the Jag now then. I think those of you that like Jags, there's been a lot of Jags being made recently. People like the Hasegawa one, and there's the new Italeri one. I've got all of them. Let's have a look at this though. Can we see? Yes. Now, this is one that's got one of these, like a double-sided tail. So on this fuselage port side we're looking at, there's no tail. On the starboard side you get both sides of it. Yeah, you get both sides on that starboard side. But it's quite nicely done actually. I mean, it's fairly simple panel lines, but they're nicely engraved, recessed panel lines. Not a bad looking Jag, really. Comes complete with the window at the front is built in. It's not a separate piece on the nose. And then you've got this section underneath the engines, at the bottom of the fuselage, where your stabiliser ventral fins are, as a separate piece there. And of course this is a 3-colour kit, so we get 3 sprues, obviously. Then you've got these rockets, hands up. Anybody know what these are? I did know and I've forgotten. But I'm sure they're not. It's not right for the RAF. I'm pretty sure it's not an RAF rocket. A little bit of a artistic license. I'm pretty sure it's one of the French ones. So again, what's happened here? They've tooled it up to be Anglo-French and hope that nobody notices really, because it's not an RAF loadout in the kit. Even the Matra rocket pod. I don't believe the RAF were ever carrying these. Were they? I'm trying to think if I saw photos. I've got some 1972. I'm going to show my age here. There was an article in it was like a newspaper. Was it in something like, maybe it was in the Victor comic? And I cut it out, and it's just about Jaguar, and it's just photos from the new Jaguar when it entered service, all in black and white. But it was quite nice pictures actually. But I don't remember that. Or do I? Again, it's something that I think was on maybe a prototype that the RAF had, but it wasn't used by the RAF. This is like more like the style the French or the Israelis would use on their Mirages. A Matra rocket 155 head rocket launcher, and they have vents here to let the blast of the rockets out halfway along. To show you what I mean, to looking at me. Get a bit closer, you'll see what I'm talking about. So. Does look like the Mirage. If you remember my 3C Mirage, I had to scratch build one of these with a Matra front, and then the rest is a fuel tank. It's 2 in 1, and this bit in the middle where the collar is, actually on the real thing, it's got like vent exhausts for the rockets, so the exhaust comes out. Otherwise you'd set fire to your fuel tank, wouldn't you? But yeah, interesting. But if there are any experts among you who can recognise these, I'm sure they're French rockets. Those are definitely not RAF fair at all. No. And then you've got all your pylons, you've got your jet exhausts there, which are sadly not opened up. A bit of a shame. Well, they are a bit, aren't they? But not very deep. Wheels, main wheels, front wheels, and don't forget the Jaguar could land. It had this sort of praying mantis-like look to it, and it could land on very rough ground very effectively. We have the ubiquitous Matchbox stand, of course, and then we've got the wings and the tails, which are actually in one piece, so that you don't have to stick the top and bottom, it's all one. And this one doesn't have the overwing rails, thank goodness, which look so ugly, don't they, on the Jag. But it's got this very phantom-like tail to it, of course. And then you've got your pilot and his seat. It's quite a big old seat, isn't it? Look at that. And then you've got your those little ventral fins I talked about. So, that's the actual sprues. It's just a little butchers at these instructions and decals. So we've got, it's only got the British markings for Coulter Shawl, what squadron was it? 54 Squadron and 6 Squadron, yeah, both from Coulter Shawl. Or did one of them move to Lossiemouth? I think that was later though, wasn't it? Flying can openers, that's 6 Squadron, isn't it? Yeah, it's got the fly. So actually, no, I'm wrong. I take back what I said earlier. I take it back. It's the Flying Can Openers logo, it's not the RAF roundel. So that is curious, they put the Flying Can Openers logo instead of the front RAF insignia. That's unusual, because they didn't do that with when they went to Phantoms later. They would have them separate, you know, they still have the normal RAF markings. Curious. Somebody's taken a bit of poetic license there, I think. This lovely orange instruction book, which is very much of the era. This is a 1973 kit. Opening, I've got a bit of data on the front, and you've got, now this is the Generation 2 style, so instead of having the hot hints, that's gone now. You don't put hot hints on this, it's just got the mini paint guide on the back. Undercarriage wheels, cockpit pilot, bits on the tail, little detail pieces, engines outer and inner, your missiles, matropod, nose, F, what's F? F and D, what colours are they? F, red, D, black, yeah, okay. Another curious point, I think I should just point out the anti-reflection strip in front of the pilot. Another interesting point about this aircraft, a very interesting point about the artwork, I should just point it out. Something's gone wrong. Something's gone wrong when I've not got the canopy out. Something's gone wrong here. Look at the Matra, this unusual French style I've just talked about. The Matra pod cum fuel tank, central fuel tank. Look at the tips of the missiles. Again, that is certainly nothing like the RAF have ever used. However, if you just cast your mind back, those of you that have been around and are familiar with the Kinetic Harriers, the 148th range Harriers, well, you might recall that Kinetic kit, which is a very good kit, and both Sea Harrier and Harrier, but they both come with the Matra 155 pods, just like that, with the protruding noses for the actual 2-inch rockets. Now, I talked about this in the Harrier review, and I think I talked about it on the Sea Harrier and the Falklands reviews as well. That is not the way that they are operationally used at all. They are not sticking out like that. They are down the tube and fire and then come out. I mean, those are literally half out. That's been seen at an air show, probably at Farnborough, like that, to demonstrate to those that are not very familiar that this is the rocket pod. And they don't fly them like that. Not these aircraft, and the Harrier certainly doesn't. So it's just a point to note that again, it's, and this, don't forget, this will have been Roy Huxley. Is it Roy Huxley? He's not got his signature today, but I know it's one of these. He will have been given a photograph, probably from Farnborough, probably in 71, and it was on that basis that he'll create his artwork. So again, you know, they didn't get the memo properly. They didn't do it quite right and pass on the right information to the artist, as we saw with the Mirage and the Buccaneer having its bombs that don't end up on the kit. Anyway, digressing. Here's the canopy, which is quite a nice one, very simple, nothing fancy about it, but yeah, it's adequate. Probably want a mask for that, it's going to be tricky to do the framing otherwise. So that's that, and then as I say, we're going to just look at these instructions before I went talking about rocket pods and things. So, pilot's going in his seat, usual thing. It's a bit of a crossover, this aircraft. I think I spoke about this in the past, about how it's almost a cross between a TSR2 and a Phantom in design terms. You've got the rear end of a Phantom, you know, the way that the tails and the engines are exiting and all that kind of thing, your tailplanes, etc. And you've got this high wing sort of and wing shape of the TSR2 almost, and the front of it like a scaled down TSR2. It's a very similar design, isn't it, in some ways? It's like a TSR2 and a Phantom got together and had a baby. Anyway, I'm digressing. Move on quickly. Now, some of them are telling you here that you have to cut off. For 54 Squadron production aircraft, I cut the splitter plates off. There's a splitter plate that protrudes here. Whoops, there. And the 54 Squadron doesn't have it. And again, this is like when they first came into service, because this is a very early generation aircraft that we're modelled on here. And the French ones, and obviously some squadrons had the splitter plates and some of them didn't. Not sure why they wanted to do that, just to gain less drag, or it was weight, or maybe a combination. Anyway, it goes together in a very conventional way. Two sides to your nose. There you go, that goes on, ba-bum. It tells you here with an arrow, that tells you that you have to add nose weight. It doesn't tell you how much, but I guess if you just fill it up with plasticine, you'll be fine. So I think they're reasonably well balanced. And then you get your undercarriage going in, your doors, and then all these weapons, these oh, and a rest hook as well, of course. Fantastic. And then you've got all these really unusual weapons, which, as I say, I think it's more of a French loadout than a UK one. But there we go, that was what was available, and it was based on, as I say, drawings and things of the time. So there you have the Jag. Everybody likes a Jag, don't they? Can't be a nice Jag. Is that everything in there? Did I get all the parts in? It says, got zoomed in too much. I watch the videos on playback with you and live chat, you know, and I often think, oh, you've zoomed into it, but it's so hard. You're trying to concentrate on what you're saying and get it right, and I do try my best, and actually get it out, and actually so I can see what I'm talking about. And then, you know, you're thinking about three things at the same time. It's a bit like, you know, what is it? You pat your head and rub your tummy. Yeah, it's a bit like that. Anyway, next one. The Buccaneer. Buccaneer's next, because this is the other kit that we didn't open for some reason, and we saw it and we all bemoaned the lack of bombs, which it shows clearly here in the artwork. And then again, Roy Huxley had to later go back and change the artwork to take it off and do a different picture. Now this one is a bit of a mix and match. This is I've got three of these, and this is the worst example in terms of the box. It's got a tear in it here, usual coffee stains and all sorts of things. Another tear. It's actually in quite a bad way. It's got a rip in it. So anyway, let's have a look at the content. Which colours have we got here today? Oh, I've got the conventional colours. It looks like I've got some additional. Oh, I've got some parts off the sprue, that's for sure. Looks like we've got some additional decals. So we've got a dark blue. That's the starboard fuselage. That's an envelope with some additional decals in it, which is actually. Oh, that's a set of Airfix decals with the Foxes 12 Squadron. Look, hey, look at this. So that's 12 Squadron, the squadron at Honington, RAF Honington, which is the one that used to be right beside my primary school. I used to see them every day. With the little Fox logo there. There you go. So you can almost see a fox on a plane, RAF plane, it's almost certainly 12 Squadron. That's very good. But that didn't come with a kit, so let's move on. Then we've got a sprue. Yeah, this is one that's not in the greatest of condition, as I alluded to before. So we've got both sides of the fuselage are off the sprue in this case. It's not my finest one. Now, somebody else wrote in last week when he first saw the Buccaneer, made a comment quite rightly and said, I was a bit disappointed, Peter, when I got this kit, because they blocked up the jet pipe exits, as you can see there, catching the light. Now, why they did that, I cannot imagine. I know it's not easy to mould, but that was a bit silly of them. That was not a good move. And they don't even look like FOD covers, do they? So that was a bit silly. You've got your, it's very dark plastic, isn't it? It's almost as dark as the black gloves I've got. Here's your air brakes at the back. And then you've got various bits like the seats and what have you, and there's some other sprue. So let's have a go at some, let's put together a Matchbox kit then, without further ado. Yeah, why not? No glue, no glue. No. I'm just saying. It's too rare, too rare. So there we, oh, here we go. Yeah, it's come off very roughly off the sprue, bit of a rip. But again, now this is interesting. This, for those of you that have never built a Matchbox kit that are watching, just look at that. I've just pushed that together, not prepared it. You can still see it's got the rough tears, if you like, where it's come off the sprue. But look at the fit. Yeah, okay, it's not quite Tamiya, but it's not far off. He says, get the focus to work. It's not Tamiya, but it ain't a million miles away. I mean, look at it. There's no gap. You might just want a quick swipe with a sanding stick, but very minor swipe, you know. Yeah. Trouble with my focus. They just go together straight away, and it feels solid. You know, it's not. This is one of the things that made so many of us love these kits so very much when we were young, because you'd put that together. Straight away, that feels almost glued because there's no flex. It's a perfect mating surface. It's solid. It's really good. The join is brilliant. And this is what people loved about them, because you put a little dab of glue on that. Unfortunately, we didn't, did we? Most of us, me included, we just glue all over the damn place. Be dribbling like it. It looked like an alien's mouth when I'd finished with it, wasn't it? Anyway, look at this. The white sprue. So. Because obviously it's a Navy aircraft, although strangely they put it in Navy colours even though it's not a Navy variant that Matchbox produced. Bit of an odd thing they did, but then no, never mind. Okay, so here you go. So you've got the wings split into two, and you can't actually fold the wings up, which is a bit of a shame. Again, they've put it in the natural folding position, but you can't actually fold it. Of course you can. Now we're big boys, we can probably do that. You're a big boy now, you can modify that. That's not going to be a problem. Something my dad would say if he was looking down on me now. He'd be saying, "Come on, Peter, you're a big boy, for God's sake, grow up." Actually, no. If my dad was looking down today, he'd be saying, "You're not still playing those bloody stupid plastic models, are you? How old are you? 50 something? For goodness sake." Anyway, who cares? It's part of the fun of life. That's how we stay young, isn't it? So there you go. You've got your engine intakes there. You see those? Yeah, engine intakes. You've got. This is the top of the. This is where they did this modification on the Buccaneer, because it's a very unusual bit of aerodynamics. The Buccaneer, and it had this thing called the area rule principle, which meant that it was extremely low drag. It did create some instability though, and this is one of the things they modified, because initially it didn't have this front and rear on the top of here. And they found out that it gave them some issues, so that was something they had to add, and it gave the aerodynamics just better, a little bit more drag, but much more stability. But it's a very low drag aeroplane. It's a very kind of unusual and quite beautiful plane, really. It's kind of like a dolphin in some respects. It reminds me of a dolphin. Anyway, there we go. How about the beautiful sort of Bugatti blue sprue? Look at that for a colour. That's gorgeous. That's nice, isn't it? So there you go. You've got. I talked about the area rule principle. You can sort of see this unusual style of tail, with this sort of sweeping fillet sweeps up to that tail plane I just spoke about, and you can see the nose section there. That's the underside of the wing, the inboard end of the wing here, and the root. Alright, it's rather nice, isn't it? This is actually a nice kit. It's just the only thing that lets this kit down is the lack of weapons, as we discussed earlier. But yeah, so those of you that are telling me off, somebody told me off, two of you told me off a couple of days ago and said, "These videos are costing me an absolute fortune. I'm running out and going and getting these on eBay. They're costing an absolute mint." Oh, and while we're talking, I must just, talking of eBay, I must just bring something up, which I think should be a word of warning for many of you that especially not familiar with Matchbox. We talked about the Revell reboxings, especially on the armour, and I said, well, just go and get the Revell. Now be very wary, because what I did not know, because I've not really been paying much attention to the latest devious workings of Revell, somebody else, I think it was Jason, he said, have you noticed that this dioramas that you're correctly highlighting as a great feature on these kits, on the tanks and armour? He said they're now doing this thing called, they've reboxed them again, and they're now saying first diorama kits. That's what they're calling them now. It's exactly the same content in the box, exactly 100% as you would have had before, apart from the colour of the sprue, and they're calling it first diorama. And in the case of like the Puma, you could buy it, you can still buy it on eBay, the previous production from 2-3 years ago, which forget the date, it's the same, and it was about £9, and they're now selling them for £20, Revell. I couldn't believe my eyes. Now, I've got a bit of a problem here with this, and I'm sure many of you will feel the same way. This is this reboxing that everybody complains about. I know we've all had a bit of a moan and a bitch about it, but this is wrong. It's actually quite fraudulent, and they're trying to create an impression again that they've created something new, and they're not. It's just the old Matchbox tools, and they're just pumping them out, stamping them out in a single colour of plastic, and then they've just had their boxes reprinted. It's a con trick. I'm sorry, Revell. I'm losing a lot of respect for you with this. I've been losing respect for Revell over this issue. Not generally, some of their kits they're bringing out are quite decent. But there's a lot of crap, or good stuff, but old stuff like this. And they're trying to pretend it's new, and they are genuinely trying to kid you into thinking it's new. There's no justification for this £20 price tag. They've been selling that for £9. You can get it for £8. I think the Puma I saw $8.99 delivered, I think it was. Now, with this new boxing, it's now £20. Come off it. I think it's disgraceful. It sickens me and it puts me off their product. This is doing you no favours, Revell. People like me, and there's lots of us that are like me, I'm sure from what you've all said, agree with this and think, I'm not going to let them keep doing. I'm not going to buy Revell unless they come out with something exceptional. Well, they brought out that SR71 Blackbird, and that is not exceptional. That is not exceptional. It's an expensive, upscaled 72nd scale kit, if you ask me. That's all that is. Or you could argue it's upscale. All right, they've improved the engine detail, but the main fuselage and everything, no, it's not good enough. Doesn't command that price. I think it's a rip-off, to be honest. I won't go anywhere near that. I've seen the photographs. Ugh! It's just not got the riveting detail. They've added nothing apart from a couple of engines that you can pose outside and a stand. And they want £90 odd. No, sorry, that's just ridiculous. Anyway, I mean, I'm all for. I'll pay through the nose for a superb kit. You know, Zoki Mori, you know, Tamiya, all these people, Hong Kong modelling them. But I won't pay through the nose for something that's a lot of, you know, overrated. Don't be taken in by box art. I mean, it's ironic when we're talking about this very subject. Here, the box art, everything was kind of yeah, the box art was the best thing. But even the, you know, I've just shown you how well it fits together. It was a good product. It was a good product, and it was fantastic value for money. Revell's Blackbird is poor value for money, and the new armour, the reboxing of these Matchbox kits, the latest iteration, 2021-22. No, don't even buy them. Just go and get one of the older ones. You're buying exactly the same product. Excuse me. Anyway, rant over. Give myself heart failure if I keep going on about this. Sorry, I didn't mean to babble on, but it's very frustrating, and I'm sure a lot of you feel the same way. I don't know what they think they're playing at. All they're doing is alienating their market and customers with that sort of a trick. And that is what it is, a trick. It's a con trick. It's absolutely despicable. It's the worst kind of dishonesty. You know, this is a company that tries to be ethical and won't have the Nazi swastika. Now, I do understand their reasons. I don't entirely agree with them, but I understand what they're saying. And then they try and lie to customers, you know, with fraudulent products, trying to give the impression. Sorry, you all just saw that one came from BTs, didn't you? Talk about them in a minute. But, you know, they're just trying to give the impression that you're buying something that you're not buying. You're buying a Matchbox kit from 1972, but done worse. I noticed that they've even you know, redone all the box art, and there isn't one of them I've seen which is as good or better than Roy Huxley's work. Not even close. Anyway, enough of my ranting, let's move on. Now then, another one that was a little bit controversial, only small controversy. The Strikemaster. This is the aircraft, one of the aircraft that my father worked on, the BAC Strikemaster. And he worked on, I'm not an expert on this, but because it was all hush hush, my father signed the Official Secrets Act many times, BAC and at Vickers, so I had to, he wouldn't tell me anything. But I know he worked on some little strakes that they put, I think it might be just visible in this image, let's see if you can see them. Strakes above and below the nose, which were helping increase the stall speed. Sorry, reduce the stall speed, I mean, not increase. In other words, make it a little bit more stable. You can just make out something here. And there was another one, I think maybe this one underneath, he worked something to do with this, and it was all about exactly where they position it, forward and aft, and it makes a lot of difference, you know, little tiny changes, an inch or two here or there, could make a dramatic difference. Anyway, you're here to look at the Matchbox kit. So, here we go. What does it say? Sea level practice attack over the Bay of Plenty in New Zealand by Strikemasters of the Royal New Zealand Air Force. There we go. On the back, the Royal New Zealand Air Force or the Saudi Arabian Air Force. Now this is where we talked about, look at the illustration, let's have a close look at this again. We've got another scenario, as I mentioned, like the Buccaneer, like the Mirage, Matra 155 rocket pod there. No, you've got some strange little missiles underneath, like rockets. Not a rocket pod. This really annoyed me because I thought it looked really cool in that picture. And I thought this New Zealand one looked absolutely brill. And then you open it up and you get some very strange coloured plastic here. And this is another one that's got one of these peculiar random choices. What does it say? There you go. There's the colours that were the norm. And again, I've got about 3 of these, but one of them is completely sealed. That is actually the colours they chose, the pale blue wings and tail and a creamy white body. Okay. However, no, that's not what we've got here. We've got another random choice, depending on what was in the pellet machine when they were spewing out the melting down the polystyrene pellets. We've got a strange colour of grey and what can only be described as coffee coloured, a very pale cappuccino coffee. Look at this. I'm sounding critical, but it's just odd, you know. They went through this little evolution of doing them in an odd way. Now this I believe is one of the very early production runs, in fact, when they were perhaps being a bit experimental. I say that, I know that, because although it says 73 here, it's got the very small window, smaller than normal, and squarer looking. Normally it comes down much more oblong to about there. So that tells us it's one of the very early ones. I mean, super early. This particular kit was never actually produced in the lift top box. No, I'm pretty sure it wasn't. So this is definitely a 73 production. But obviously there's a little bit of experimentation going on. So yes, anyway, let's have a look at the parts. So you get this very curious colour. As I say, very pale cappuccino. It's like cappuccino with a lot of milk in it. But it's quite nice, you know. You've got some just raised only on the rudder, which I think is correct, and then the rest of it, the pan lines are really rather nice. No problem at all. Your intakes with the carriage, and here's these rather disappointing rockets, which I alluded to, which I've got a bit of a chip on my shoulder about. These rockets, look at that. I mean, they look a bit pathetic, don't they? Now, does anybody there, perhaps James might know this, or somebody else, perhaps anybody that's worked in the aviation industry, what are they? What are they? I don't remember these, I've not got any knowledge of them at all, so open to suggestions. But, oops, so there you go. That's the coffee coloured sprue, and then you get the other sprue, which is just basically the wings and the tails. And it's nice playing the Provost Strikemaster, you know. They all sort of look right, don't they? First jet trainer the RAF had, of course. Nice little aircraft. Yes, and we get the Royal the RSAF. Well, that's the Royal. I'm just thinking that's not New Zealand. It's the Royal Saudi Air Force. I was trying to think what that meant then. I'm thinking that's not New Zealand. The Saudis have got a lot of writing on their plane. Look, Royal Saudi Air Force. Gosh, yeah, there we go. The crossed cutlasses and a palm tree, of course, is their traditional emblem. And then, of course, our friends in New Zealand have got the Kiwis, cute little Kiwis. What's not to like there? What a small marking. It's quite low vis, really, isn't it, the Kiwi? Here we go. For some reason, this is a white instruction leaflet, which is curious because, again, it's like they haven't even got round to starting the purple ink production. Anyway, it's a side-by-side instructor and tutor and pupil arrangement, a bit like the Hunter we talked about the other day. Obviously that goes in there, you've got the nose weight in, and you've got your wings going on, top and bottom, you've got an aerial to go on there. Here we've got those intakes. Whoops, the Vigan's just fallen over because it's got a slightly odd-shaped box. Doesn't want to stand up, the Vigan. And you've got your canopy going on, tailplanes, elevators, and wings going in at the end. Finishing off with your undercarriage and these rather odd rockets that we don't know what they are. There you go, so that's the Strikemaster. I'm going to swap this around in the shape of variety so you get to see something else. How about looking at the Vigan instead? There's that, there you go. Better, isn't it? Yeah, the Vigan's box is not quite, it's got a slight bow to it, and that's why it won't stand up, it keeps trying to fall over. So, we'll pop that back in there. These usually go in really easy because they're quite small screws. Not going to give us any trouble. Okay. So as I say, my dad worked on that aircraft, so that's got a bit of a family connection there too. Now, I think we'll do the Vigan, simply because it's got this box that wants to fall over. It's got a bit of a bow underneath. This is a nice one. I couldn't get my hands on this. This is one that, when it came out the first time, I didn't bother with it, only because I had the Airfix one. It wasn't a very nice kit. It wasn't terrible, but it kind of put me off it a bit. But this is actually quite a decent kit. And I've got the modern one, the reboxing by Hobby 2000, is it? No, Special Hobby, which is the Tarangas kit, isn't it, I think, originally. Anyway, let's have a closer look. Nice artwork, typical Swedish forest scatter pattern, which is always nice. It's got the anti-ship missiles on it. Somebody did tell me what they're called, but I've forgotten. Formidable stores capacity. Yeah, this aircraft was very great power to weight ratio, so you've got air to air missiles here, you've got anti-ship missiles here, and it could lift a lot of weight, of course. So it does look rather meaty, this does, and they seem to have done it in some more sensible colours. You've got pale green and grey, you've got medium green, pale green and grey. We'll see what's actually inside because what they put on the box and what is inside are often dramatically different. Oh, they've done the artwork in a completely different way. Look at this. So it's just got one scheme. Swedish Air Force at Söderhamn. So that's your one choice. You only have to get one decal selection, but it looks nice. As I say, I'm going to build one of these at some point. I'm going to do one probably in that pattern. But I don't think it's going to be an easy paint job. So, there's only one solution, isn't there? Get a mask. Paint mask. It's the only way. Let's have a look in here. Careful, it's a little bit. Plastic's best is the box. Ooh, the weapons look cool, I've got to say. Stick it down there, there we go. Right, now then. Orange instructions. PK119 this time, and we get quite a decent write-up here. Many languages. Spanish, French, German, and Italian, I think that is. Whoops! Oh yes, paint guide on the back. I quite like the way they've done this one. It seems a bit more modern, a bit more upmarket, more serious, if you know what I mean. So it's another 1973 based aircraft, and all the little small parts there missiles, etc. cockpit. Those missiles are absolutely enormous. You can look inside. So what have we got? Okay. Yep, we've got pilot goes in his seat. We've got your thrust reversing system at the back there, which has to go in for the engines. Then we've got top and bottom wings being brought together here, and you've got your air intakes for the engine. Your nose going on the pitot. I'd leave the pitot till the end if I were you. You've got the lower fuselage panel going on, wings as I say, and the canards of course, because this is a Delta Canard aircraft. And you've got wheels, full gear being assembled there. Then you've got your drop tank, you've got air-to-air missiles, and then finally these massive anti-ship missiles. They kind of look a bit French, don't they? Those actually look at them, the design reminds me of something. It reminds me of Fireball XL5, and you've really got to be a certain age to remember that from the 60s, but it does, doesn't it? It's the same shape. In fact, it's got me thinking. I'm starting to wonder if our friend Jerry Anderson maybe stole the design of Fireball XL5 from some European anti-ship missiles. It does look that way, doesn't it? Right, let's have a look. So we've got to stand, won't bother with that anymore. We've seen enough of that. So we've got a canopy. It seems to be not an entire canopy there. Oh dear, have we got one missing? I might be in trouble here. It looks to me like there's no forward canopy. Oh. I've dropped it. Did I drop it? Let's spill it out. There's a crisis on camera. Don't run over it with the wheels anyway. Right, well we seem to have a bit missing, so that's a bit of a worry. Guess it's been it's flirted out somewhere. I'll have to keep my eyes open. Looks like the windscreen's the bit that's missing. Now, I've seen this before, I'm sure it wasn't missing last time, so it must be here somewhere. I must have flicked it out. Maybe watch that, maybe if you wind back you can tell me. Anyway, let's have a look what we have got. Got our missile, nice solid sprue this, really well done. Got our missiles here. Let's have a look. The canopy's going to bug me now, I'll tell you that now. It's going to really annoy me. Here we go, missiles. See what I mean? Fireball XL5, it's just got the tips to go on the end. There they are. These are the tips over here, look. Yeah, reverser buckets. There's your air-to-air missiles. And your drop tank. Fireball XL5 anti-ship missile. Oops. I think somebody in Sweden last time when he saw the review and he said, oh yes, he told me exactly what it was. Because I didn't even know it was anti-ship until he told me. Then you got your rails, you got your gear legs. Here we've got it's the same arrangement like with the Jaguar. So what we have is we've got the fuselage starboard side. Nice, very nicely done. There's some more extensive panel lining on this one than there is on some others. And if you swing it round, of course, you've then got your tail, which is a twin-sided tail. The other side. Yeah. And then we've got various intakes. You've got your, very detailed by Matchbox standards, the lower panel under the rear fuselage there. That's nicely done. I like that. And then we've got the one with all the wings on. So we've got some very big wing, isn't it? Like a double apex, or you can almost say triple apex wing. It's slightly Vulcan-like, isn't it? Almost. And the canards here, of course. Yeah, looks very, very nice. It'd look even nicer if I had the full canopy, to be honest. I'm a bit worried about that now. No, it's okay. Panic over. Oh, okay, it's not what I thought. I haven't lost the canopy. I just haven't looked closely enough. If you look very closely at the canopy, it's actually moulded in one whole piece. And there is the faintest line here. I don't know if you can make this out. There is a very faint line to denote the split point where this part opens up, making it look like it's actually got a piece missing. How very strange. That is not a very easy one to paint. Get that in camera. Can you see it? Just about make it out, the split point down the centre there. There you go, you can just about see it there. It's very odd. Anyway, there we go. So, there we have Sweden's excellent Saab Viggen. That's going to go away now. I'm not sure I don't get into panic about losing that part that I haven't lost. It's a bit strange because I didn't feel like it was coming out. Stick that in there. And we will now get on to some things we haven't seen much of before, if at all. I wonder how many of you had the Viggen? I'm actually interested because I never saw it. I saw it once when it first appeared and then I never saw it again. It's like there was only a few came through stock-wise to my local model shop, which I've already talked about. So I wonder if any of you have built it. It seems one of the less common kits. Yeah, I've got to think it's a 76, what does it say? It is 76, yes, it came out a bit later than the others. Well, the sort of second tranche of the orange range, I think that was. What about the P38 Lightning? Now this is another one that both these, the Viggen and the Lightning, I bought relatively recently in the last 18 months. Because I couldn't get either of them for love nor money, so this is what I'm saying, they seem to be quite rare. Now the Lightning, this is one that I seem to have missed. And yet, going back to my old model shop I was speaking of, they had it in the window for ages and I just never bought it. Being a Brit, they weren't quite so, I wouldn't say popular, not such a known of aircraft in the Western European theatre of operations. Of course they were in it, don't get me wrong, but they weren't so high profile. They were more known for the Pacific, and that didn't really interest me when I was a kid, for whatever reason. Probably information overload, to be honest. But look at this lovely artwork that they've got on the back, where they've shown you, because it's obscured by the engines, they've shown you, what is it, Pudgy. I know there's a story behind this aircraft. I know the pilot got shot down and killed before the end of the war, but he had a lot of kills, he was an ace. And yeah, it's all marked up there. Yeah, Major T.B. Maguire, there you go, you can look it up. And then he's got some more fancy graphics on the back. Like an angry witch doctor. It's like an angry witch doctor, isn't it? Look at that. What does it say? A flaming Japanese Zero spins down, destroyed by the fighting skills of Major T.B. Maguire, who was awarded posthumously America's highest award for valour, Congressional Medal of Honour, for his 38 combat victories. It's a bit late, isn't it, when he's already gone? It's a bit sad, isn't it? Oh dear. Obviously he was a brilliant ace. Made a big contribution for sure. And then you got the other one. Ah, and here one. This is at Manston. So this is what I was saying about. They were here in the European theatre of operations. And Manston is an airfield right on the coast of northern Kent, northeastern Kent. In fact, very near France. So yeah, that's now it has been an airport for a while, and I think they're turning it into houses. I think they're going to build houses on that site. It was an RAF base for a long time. Let's have a look inside, see what we have. Yes, that's nice. Nice. Look at this. There is our canopy. Look at that, it's nice. It's still on the sprue as well. Stand, which I'll just put to one side, and then we've got some interesting bits and bobs. We've got some of that mushy pea green plastic again. As I say, I'm not a fan of mushy peas, but I do like this. And you've got your twin booms, obviously, because it's the forked-tailed devil, the Lightning. Twin booms, superchargers. So it's a very interesting looking aeroplane. It's like a mosquito that took some drugs, isn't it, really? But it's a great plane, very fast, very manoeuvrable, deadly. And don't forget, this is the plane that shot down Admiral Yamamoto over Rabaul. So quite a famous aircraft, made a big contribution, especially in the Pacific. I think it was very suited there. Drop tanks here, look, drop tanks. Can't see it with my black gloves. A lot of black, isn't there? It's a nice sprue. Got your superchargers there, can you see them? There we go. Superchargers. Very nice. And then last but not least we have our wings. And you've got your big tail plane of course here. And you've got sort of an inboard section to the wing. There we are. Cool. Pilot. Very nice instructions. They seem a bit bigger than normal as well. It's a very big instruction leaf as well. Huge. About 20% bigger than the normal orange one. And then yeah, it's the usual thing really, but because you're building a pod that's in the centre, so it's a slightly unusual construction once you get to the cockpit. Because you then build a bit of wing either side of it, and then you build your engines on in the booms on either side. So it's quite interesting. Drop tanks. It's even got rockets included. Wow, didn't know that. That's interesting. Got some nice decals here. The Mad Witch Doctor or whatever he is. That's a very strange looking guy. I say Mad Witch Doctor. I think it's supposed to be Mad Uncle Sam. I'll just gently peel this back. See if we can see this. I think that's Angry Uncle Sam myself. Do we agree? Get a bit closer. There we are. Is that Angry Uncle Sam, do you think? Yeah, I think it might be. A lovely little model. Lovely little model. I can't believe I didn't buy it before now, you know. Anyway. Pull that one back out and we will move on to something that James grumbled to me about. He said, yeah, where's the Helldiver? He kept on saying, where's the Helldiver? Where's the Helldiver? Blooming heck, I did the Helldiver months ago, but just for you sir, we will have a Helldiver. Why not? I do like to please the punters if I can. In fact, not one Helldiver, but two. So don't say I never give you anything. get you. It's so big, this instruction, it doesn't want to go in. It was very odd. It was so big. Significantly bigger than the others. No apparent reason. How strange. Whoops. Right. There we go. Helldivers then. As we're on the American subjects. Now, whoops. Helldivers and Corsairs. Later, Mr. Corsair. I'm running out of time. I'm not careful. I'll run out of battery on my camera. This one's not going to be open, but this is the thing about artwork. We talked about the book, obviously. This is the later artwork for the Helldiver, with this, you know, anaesthetised, messed up, ruined art. I mean, that just looks nothing. Here's the original. Whoa! That's more like it, isn't it? This is the attacking the Helldivers from the Bunker Hill, USS Bunker Hill aircraft carrier. They're attacking the Japanese base at Rabaul, which is what I mentioned earlier about Yamamoto. Rabaul, the 11th of November 43, and they are dropping their bombs on the Japanese naval base there. Now I'm sorry, but there is no comparison. You can argue that this is slightly more cartoon-like. I don't care. I think it's a lot better than that. That looks crap, for want of a better word. And the artwork on the back is pretty much identical, so I won't bore you with that. But doesn't it just show you how they messed up the shelf appeal? That's got tons of shelf appeal. That was an exciting looking battle in progress. What's not to like? On the reverse then, we've got the Bunker Hill, aircraft from the Bunker Hill, or the Yorktown. And of course, Yorktown was sunk, wasn't it? We talked about this. It was sunk in the Battle of Midway, unfortunately. Let's have a look inside. This is an original Mark 1, 76, 73. This is one of the very earliest orange range. So this is a primary one. Oh, silver, hey, something new. Metallics. Oh, we've got a loose prop here off the sprue, which, yeah, it's 49 years old. I don't think we can complain too much. But look at this. Metallic plastic from Matchbox. This is more the sort of thing you used to get with people like Frog or who else used to do metallic finishes? Some of the Japanese manufacturers. That is quite nice actually. It's a proper metallic looking finish. Quite why they put it on the bombs, I don't know, but it works on the engine, doesn't it? That's quite nice. We've got our prop, which has gone astray. There it is. Then we have a nice big stand. Oops, I've just gone adrift. We've got a nice big grey sprue for the big chunky fuselage, which as you can see is very nicely done. Quite a nice kit this actually, I like this one. I'm liking it already. There we are. How about that then? That's nice, got folding wings. Hey, proper folding wings, look at this. We've got a nice blue sprue here, you see how they fold on the pivot at the bottom of the wing? That's cool. There you go. That's lovely, I like that. I'm not going to go through all the instructions, I'm just very conscious we're pressed for time and I'm pressed for battery power, so I'll just move along, but just show you before I go the rather impressive canopy. That's a nice kit. That's a very nice kit actually. So I would say to you, James, if you, I can't remember if you said you had one of these or you were thinking of getting one, I would get it. I have to say that I'm quite taken with that. It looks rather smart. We like it, we like it. Zoom you out so you can see what's happening. Just tucking kits away as usual. Right, I do like that blue plastic that Matchbox was using, so that's a nice, attractive looking plastic. Put those in there. And that one. And this protection. There we go. So, what's the verdict on the artwork? I think we all agree, don't we, that it's just a no-brainer, isn't it, really? Why on earth you would, you know, get rid of that and come out with that dreadful, you know, I can't imagine that this sold very well at all. I bet you the sales of that were down to about 15% of what they had been. Anyway, move on. We're still on the American Navy, so let's look at the Corsair, which people asked about. You didn't do the Corsair? Here it is. Back by request, the F4u Corsair, one of the greatest piston planes of all time, no doubt. And we have a Generation 1 box. How lucky are we today? One of the very first off the production line. Look at this, and again, some lovely blue plastic. Oh, look at that. Bent wing bird, look at this. That lovely gull wing it has. Ooh, yes, yes, yes. Yeah, nice, 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 nice. Lovely bit of plastic that, very small stand. And then we've got tiny little canopy, it looks a nice one. And then we've got our other sprue with the on the engine front, the cowl and the main fuselage, fuselage side, wheels, gear legs. Again, it's one of these twin-sided tail style of moulding. Oops, sorry, I'm not sure why the camera's struggling. There we go, seat, prop, it's all there. And you've got your fan, you've got your arrestor hook and wheel combination. It's all one assembly. It's cool, isn't it? How good is that? So, there we are. Okay. That is a beauty though. You know, you can't beat it. And it's got some big old decals. Look at this. That's a big sheet. Look at that. Massive. For a little purple range. That's nice. Yes, we like it. We like it. Yeah. We like the way they've done the instructions here is nice as well. Look at that. The bent wing bird style there, can't you? Building up your wings and putting your cannons on. Very nice. Lovely kit though. Very pleased to have one, especially with it being on the first generation kits. With that, you know, this original little lift top box. And it shows you all your colour call out for your fine parts on the side. Tells you about the stand, usual thing. Lovely. And that just leaves us with, well, there's actually 4 left. I'm very conscious I'm running out of time and battery power, so bear with me. The Priest, I'm not going to bother with that too much, it's just to show you which one's in the collection really. It does have a very boring sort of a diorama. It's not one of the better ones if I'm being fair. So I'll be very quick with this. Black and white, it's one of the later kits, it's an 83 kit I think, 86. And they changed the style of the instructions, which you'll notice is quite interesting, to this rather strange and very small, printed small, fold-out system. So you almost need the zoom for this to get into it. Look at this. One thing that is nice on this kit though is all the ammunition storage, which is all around the sort of cabin where the main gun is. I mean, do you get a description? Yeah, 105mm howitzer, of course. So you end up with all these howitzer shells. Look at them all. Bring you back in. Howitzer shells. Look at all those. Incredible. Yeah. It's nice though, isn't it? It's actually a nice little model. Again, it's slightly strange colour, so I've gone back to the brown. But I thought this was really pathetic. Look how narrow it is. The model barely fits on it. I don't know why they had to scrimp so much, but this is when they were in serious financial trouble. So I suppose we'll have to be a bit understanding about that, really. Right, now then, there are in fact only 2 kits left that we can see inside of. So I'm rushing slightly because I am short on battery power and I don't want it to keep me too long. So we'll wrap this up in a few minutes, don't worry. This is. So I do want to show you this Krupp Prots very quickly. The Krupp Prots, this is the one with the 370mm, 37mm I should say, 370mm, 37cm, 37mm, let's get it right. Panzer Aberwerfer Cannon, and it comes with quite a nice. This comes by contrast with really a nice little diorama set. So I'm going to just pop this out just quickly. It's in a bag and brief. I wanted to show you this rather nice little diorama it comes with. This comes with a load of diorama. Look at that. That's much nicer, isn't it? Look at that. Yes, that's more like it. That's the sort of thing that we really wanted. And a little bit of street as well. Obviously you get a truck with a chassis, you've got a tarpaulin top, and then you get all your running gear and your chassis and your cabin here. And it's rather nicely done for a truck, this, I've got to say. So that's worth looking at. Won't go into the instructions because we haven't got time, but yeah. Nice painting guide, and this is another one from 1986, I'm pretty sure, it's one of the later ones. This is after the original Matchbox company went bust. And then we just have just 2 remaining. In fact, we've got the Lightning, which I'm going to do last, because the Boston, I just wanted to show you that out of interest. I never had the original iteration of this, but this one is, as you can see, all cellophane wrapped, so I can't open it anyway. But it's a very, very nice one, and it's a 1983 edition. Does it say 83? I'm pretty sure it is. 83, yeah, right. And it comes in these 2 slightly strange colours the way they printed it, but nicely done. I think that's going to be a nice kit in there, but I don't actually know because I've never been able to open it, so it's really a collector's item, so I think we better keep it as that. And last, and certainly not least, the Lightning. Now, we talked about this with the box art. Now, can you see, those of you that saw my Roy Cross, the book, talking about the book, there is in fact a Vulcan. I promise you there was a Vulcan that they were doing exercises with. And it even says they're attacking Canberras and Vulcans during exercise Bertaster Padu. There we go, Singapore. So there we are. Very nice. This one's been bought from Beatty's model shop. On the back we've got RAF Singapore, and we've got RAF Gutters Low, 2 options, so it's 74 Squadron seconded to Singapore. They're not permanently there. Or Gutters Low in 74. Let's have a look inside, because I know you want to see this one. Let's have a looky. I've got the Lightning, classic Lightning canopy, which looks really striking. Look at this. Oh yes, that's a nice one. Very nice. Got our Red Top and Fire Street missiles, wing tanks, and all your other bits of paraphernalia, jet pipes, etc. Nice decal set, slightly bent. I think they're okay there. And then we have got the great Lightning shape with its great big high tail, of course. Nice panel lining. Some of it's a little bit raised, but I think that's supposed to be on the Aiden cannon pod underneath. And it's very nicely figured, this. There's a lot of detail on this one, in fairness. There is a lot of detail there. Very, very good. And then last but not least, on the sprues, you've got the some slight discoloration. I think this one's washing before it gets made by anybody, but there's your wings, etc, etc, on your tail planes. And it comes with a nice typical instruction book, which, due to lack of time, I won't bore you with, because I know we're running out of time. But anyway, there we go. That's the collection. So that really is, those are the bonus view, if you like, call it the bonus collection. Hope you found it interesting. Sorry, I had to rush a little bit at the end, but we are low on time. So you can see what we talked about with the artwork and how they sort of messed it up, or from external pressures. It wasn't Matchbox's fault, but anyway. I hope you enjoyed the series. I've certainly enjoyed presenting it, and I really appreciate everybody's time watching and staying with me, you know, and messing about putting things back in boxes. It's never easy, it's not as easy as you think. But I really do appreciate the time, and please give me your own feedback and tell me what your experiences with these kits were. If you built any of these, for example, what I said, the Havoc, Boston Havoc, which I've not really had much experience of, or the Helldiver, etc. And tell me what you think. I'd love to hear from you. Please give us a thumbs up, give us 10 out of 10 if you possibly can, and look after yourselves. If you haven't subscribed already, please do so. If you have been a subscriber, don't forget to ding the notification bell to get early warning of upcoming vids. And until next time, until we have another interesting subject to go over with, and to go back in time and be young boys again, boys and girls. Thank you very much for watching. Please all stay safe, and I hope to see you very soon. So, in the meantime, thanks a lot, and bye for now.